do a travel vlog about the Yariguin. The questions that I got on Instagram were about the travel. It sucked, especially on the way there. Actually, no, the way back was just as bad, if not worse. We went from Austin to Atlanta, Atlanta to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Moscow, Moscow to Krasnoyarsk. And I think the worst part about getting there was, you know, you think that you're almost there, right? You're in the same country. And then you get on a flight to, you know, to Krasnoyarsk from Moscow, and they're telling you that it's a 4.5, 5 hour flight. You're just like, oh man. So yeah, I got a little antsy on that last flight. It was a tough go. On the way back, it was even worse because we booked through Delta to get to Moscow, but Delta doesn't go to Krasnoyarsk, so we had to go through Aeroflot to Krasnoyarsk. So on the way back to Moscow, we were delayed and we missed our connection. And at first, Delta was just like, well, you're beat, dude. Like, you didn't fly with us. It wasn't our fault that you were delayed. You're beat. But finally, we got somebody on the horn that was very forgiving and understanding, and they hooked us up. But we did have to stay in the Moscow airport for about 8 to 9 hours, waiting for another flight. And then we had to stay over in Paris, and I took off at like 8 the next morning. The travel sucked more because of the jet lag that I felt on the, like, after I got back. I can remember trying to muscle through and then, like, okay, I went to bed early one night, and then, like, I get up the next day and I'm still not 100%, and then at a certain point my body just stopped. Like, I remember, like, the third day I was back, like at 3 p.m. my body was just like, that's enough. And I laid down at 3 p.m. and I didn't get up for probably 15 hours, if I had to guess. The other thing people were asking about was the weather. Yeah, it was cold, but, you know, it was, for Siberia, it was pretty mild, really. I mean, it did start getting down closer to, like, typical temperatures as we were there for a few days, right? But when we landed, it was like 20 degrees, right? Which is like balmy for the Kras, right? Me and Holmes went and got B-roll of the sun coming up on the bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yo, that dude's crazy. That dude's crazy. He's chopping up ice too right now. Yo, that dude's crazy.
That's wild.
That's your job. You should go back to school, bro.
20 degrees, you got to kind of take advantage of that weather while you can. So we got some pretty cool B-roll, and we went to practice right after we got the B-roll. And then that was the day that Perry and Forrest took us fur shopping at, like, the little flea market bazaar type thing, and it was chilly, right? I mean, but it wasn't that cold, you know. There's nothing that you can't handle. The one thing I will say, though, is that we did walk the bridge 3 times, right? Like, we walked it the first time when we went and got the B-roll as soon as on day 1, and then we walked it again on day, like, 3, I think. And the reason we walked it is because we weren't wanting to wait for the bus to come get us, bring us to the venue. So the venue's about a mile away, and we walked from the hotel to the venue over the bridge, and it, you know, it was chilly. It was chilly, but it wasn't like crazy. And then we went and did the river sauna with the team.
it!
Get back in that saddle!
That is so bad. Oh, oh. You alright?
Yeah!
Hey, can you hold it for me for 1 second?
How you getting in?
We were gonna Uber back, and then we just screw it. But the sun was going down, and when that sun goes down, that wind starts whipping, and that walk over the bridge back to the hotel, that was far more quiet. We head down, just muscle through. You know, I remember saying the one time we did kind of get to the middle of the bridge, and that wind starts like really kicking up because all the trees are gone. You're right in the middle of the river, and you just getting full blast of that Arctic wind. And I remember screaming to Holmes because he was a little bit ahead of me. I'm like, "Hey, remember that time we jumped in the river in Siberia and then walked home and nearly got frostbite?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Good times. Good times." What else? The wrestling. The wrestling was amazing. And I say that, I mean, it shook me. The amount of depth that they have, that the Russians have, is staggering. It's staggering. The guys that didn't make it into that tournament are really good. And when I say that, what I mean is each country is only allowed to have 3 representatives in each weight class, Russia included. So they had wrestle-offs before the tournament started just to get into the tournament, and those guys were really good. In fact, so much so that at 74 kilo, Kurbanaliyev had to have a wrestle-off just to get into the tournament. Kurbanaliyev is a world champion, 2016 world champion at 70 kilos. The dude couldn't even get into an open tournament. That's bananas. It's the best wrestling I've ever seen in my life. It's not even a question. In fact, the World Championships...
Welcome to Minnesota.
Welcome to Minnesota. In fact, the World Championships don't hold a candle to what I saw in Siberia. People ask me about the food. Next topic. I don't know how much of this is going to come out at all, but Holmes and I went to the UWW gala afterwards. Like, so after the event, they have like a big, party, I guess you'd call it. But I will say this, like, first of all, I went in my uniform, right? Boots and jeans and t-shirt. Like, there were dudes in like full-on 3-piece suits. Like, these women were wearing cocktail dresses. It was a big deal, and I was very underdressed, as usual, which I don't really care. It was a time, boy. It was interesting. It was interesting watching, like, the Japanese girls get all tuned up and start dancing a little bit. Holmes and I are doing shots of vodka. And like, I don't drink vodka at all, ever, for any reason. If a Russian person sticks a shot glass in your hand, well, you're taking a shot, I guess, So Mamashvili's just at the head table, just chiefing cigarettes, just pounding buds, dude. And like, no one else in the entire place is smoking. He's the only one. There's hundreds of people in this place. Hundreds. and Misha's just chiefing cigarettes, just boom, boom, one after the other. It was amazing, man. The guy is fresh out of shits to give. Fresh out. That's funny.